scared. Like, don't be scared. Don't allow what you know or what you don't know to stop you. You know, you're not going to see what's going to happen in the future anyway. So just don't be scared.
From Corner Judah and Debia, Imene Msindiswe Si, Umvelise Nqango Meliswe Sizwe, formerly known as Lwazi Madonsela, bringing you a show about creative entrepreneurs live from the landmark that not only birth SA street culture but also formalize the street hustle.
Corner Judah and Debia, Msindiswe Si Umvelise Nqango, Ntomzimcelo Kisamba Nonina, volume 98. Took a long time. We made it. We have the one, the only, Nomuzi Mabena. Been fly for over a decade, been a creative for over a decade, been an entrepreneur for over a decade. I wanted to redo your intro, but I think I'm gonna do a disservice.
Okay. Like my name intro? Oh my gosh, that's wild. It's like there's so many weird and different ways that I would do it. It depends on the vibe and where we at, but it's like, yo, it's a girl Moozlie, election bang bizu young ma, but everybody knows me as Kanda Queezas, new age my pizzas.
The first question I thought of, the first time I thought like, yo, I was building up the list actually for 2024. You were sitting there, it was Nokana, it was a whole list of the people I wanted to have this year. So I'm happy we made it.
I'm so glad I made it.
I'm creating the list. I'm like, the first question I want to ask Nomuzi is, how the fuck do you pivot at all times?
By the grace of God. Honestly, you know, I think that's why having conversations like this, especially on a podcast about creatives, you feel like you have to come with the right answers. I was like, what the heck are we going to talk about? I don't know what's happening, you know? It's really just, for me, about showing up every single day, you know, not getting too stuck in your ways, always being optimistic about the future, but also trusting on your bankability, your credibility, your stripes earned. I think now I'm really in a position where I'm like, I got some stripes on me, you know, so that definitely gives me a lot of confidence to try new things, but genuinely one day at a time by the grace of God.
You come into the game, you do auditions after audition after audition. A lot of us can't take it when things don't work out, because when you go into something, natural human instinct is like, no, I'm gonna make it.
Yeah.
I've always made it.
Yeah.
What was that journey like, those first couple of years where you're just auditioning for everything that can possibly put you on? And
I was really auditioning for everything. I was like, I just need a job. Like, I just need to get in. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen when I get inside, but I just need to get in. And I auditioned for so many different things, and like you say, it's different from other people. You apply for a job, or you like start a business, you're gonna do cakes, and maybe the people in your hood know, but if you're doing like the live presenter search and everybody knows that you're the girl who didn't win, like it can definitely be like a bit of a but I think for me, I always just had this innate sense that it's gonna happen. Like, it was just a matter of time, and along the way I met a lot of beautiful and amazing people who, if it wasn't my time to win, it was their time to win, and that was very exciting for me as well, you know. But you just have to keep going. You cannot stop. You literally cannot stop. And one thing I realized also after doing all of the auditions is that the audition is not even the hard part of the whole thing. And I think that's where a lot of people stumble, they get nervous. And the truth is, if you can't make it through an audition, you're not gonna get to like a 10-year career in the industry, because there's a lot of things that are gonna shake you along the way. So it was really just about like not giving up until it happened.
When it happens, what was that like?
Oh my gosh. That was like the coolest thing ever. It was like, yes, I did it. I knew it was gonna happen, you know? It was really, really exciting. I remember we even had like a party at Taboo. This is like Red Door Taboo, like in those days, you know? So it was really dope, amazing, instantly life-changing, and just like a whole new world. Like a whole new world. It suddenly felt like I knew I wasn't crazy. Like I knew I wasn't crazy. You know, it was really amazing. I remember like being in the car afterwards and listening to Kuli China's No More Hunger, and it just slapped differently, because I was like, yeah! Food on the table, no more hunger now. And trust me, I was never that hungry before. But like, it just, everything felt electrified and alive and exciting.
now you're on. And then you're like, let me pivot. I think I've kept myself here in this original position I came into the game in. What was that debate? Because even me right now, I'm sitting, I'm like, yeah, I enjoy this podcasting thing, man. But like, we're almost at 100 episodes.
Yeah.
What more?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
It feels like the 10,000 hours a day now.
Yeah, that definitely happens. I think for me, it was just a need to express myself further. At the time, I was working at MTV, which was like a huge global corporation. Like I could not just, and I mean, I was in the club throwing it back, but like I couldn't just like get into a fight with somebody. I couldn't just be in interviews talking crazy. I really represented Viacom at the time and MTV. So I was kind of like on the straight and narrow, you know. But I had more things I wanted to do, more things I wanted to say. I just needed to express myself differently. And at the time, just in having an interest in surveying the market, I was like, the girls need a voice. Like there's a gap here. I mean, there were girls who were there doing their thing, but I just felt like there's just some dust that is missing that I feel like I could do it. I'd never rapped a bar in my life, but you just know it. It's that thing I was telling you, like, you just know. It sounds absolutely crazy. You don't know what the next step is going to be, but you almost just feel like, I should do that. You know, I should definitely do that. And that's exactly what it was. It was the right place, the right time. I was surrounded by the right people who just made it seem like it would be possible. Like Catch Time for me will always be family, you know, because they really unlocked my mind to a whole new world.
You create the career, but now as a musician, there's now a brand involved. As opposed to being a VJ, there you're representing something else. Now you're representing you. How have you managed to maneuver now that's like it's brand Nomuzi, it's not Nomuzi from?
Yeah. And that was also a relationship that I struggled to navigate while working at MTV, because as a channel, they are also their own thing. They have their own deals, lots of brands always buying into them. So I would have a conversation with Era by DJ Zinhle to be like, okay, I'm going to be the face of your new campaign as Moozlie, and then on Monday I would have to do the SA Top 10 brought to you by Brown's Jewelry, and there would be that conflict, you know. So very early on I had to figure out how to make things work in that way. But I learned a lot of lessons, still learning to this day. But it was really just about playing the long game. And that was kind of difficult to do because you have to sit a lot of things out when you're playing the long game, especially in a time where like a lot of things are always happening and you feel like you're getting left behind a bit. But for me, because I knew who I stood for and the people I was associated with, I knew that if brands wanted to work with me and if people wanted to work with me, there was a level of excellence that they were buying into and it needed to be matched. So yeah, we just figured it out.
But what was that transition like? Because you like a real life celebrity, and then now we're switching into this digital era where you also have to be flying Instagram on a weekly basis, if not daily.
Yeah.
What's that maintenance like?
Well, luckily I stayed fly on the daily, so that was easy. But I think the content creation situation really blew my mind. I mean, I was on Instagram quite early, a little bit later, but like early I was creating content, and it was just in a time when we were just like taking pictures. It was right after like the Facebook albums thing. So we were shooting our own content, constantly posting it. But when it switched to like this, now this is not just your page, this is your office. This is your billboard, this is where you make money. There was definitely like a shift that needed to happen. At the time I was managed by Smuda Rock, and he was working a lot with Yelenzo. And I remember they made me delete my whole Instagram. This was like 12 years, like a few years ago, like a long time ago, like 10 or 12 years ago. And I was just like depressed, actually. I was just like, no, and not like this new thing that the artists are doing now to like delete and then come back with one
was not
picture.
A rollout.
No, it was like a thing of like we're starting again. It was crazy for me. But it really elevated my brand, you know. I think to this day, fashion, content creation, aesthetic, I'm definitely, you know, the bar, the mood board, that bitch to this day. Even for myself, when I think about like references for Moozlie, the reference is always Moozlie because she's the best.
What's that switch like to Moozlie, fire fit, fire look, fire accessories to now it's a conceptual rollout of just like a normal picture? It's like it's a concept all the time. We have to pre-shoot this. What led to that?
Probably your lens on smoother, to be honest. I was just like, you know, we have to keep it real, and there is a level of keeping it real, but we definitely, for me, why it was important is because there was a way I wanted to be perceived. Still very relatable and cool, like, yo, that's our chick, but at the same time, like, at a higher level, you know? So you have to be intentional. I think that's the thing. It went from it just being about, like, what are we gonna do, to, like, actually being intentional to the looks. And at that time, I think I was working with a lot of local brands, wearing a lot of local brands, like Rich Misi was one of the first designers who dressed me when I, like, redid my whole Instagram. And this was like years ago when he was still trapping out a garage, you know? So it was just about being intentional and also realizing that collaboration is key. So I worked with a lot of amazing content creators, photographers, videographers, who really helped me bring the vision to life.
How do you deal with it now that the vision brands want to tap in more just on the social? We don't even want you to be part of the campaign. Roll this product out on social. What's that balance like for you?
Still something I figure out to this day, but I do think one of my big strengths, it may come from the fact that I speak very well, but I am able to interpret things both creatively and relatably, if that's a word, you know, and I think sometimes brands are really just looking for that. So it's just about being a middleman, and that's definitely something I learned as a presenter. It's just about being able to communicate and tell a story in a way that seems real. Like, don't feel like you're selling it to us, like we want to know that this is something that you would believe in as well. But at the same time, understanding that this is a job, like we are the new ad agencies. Like we are the new Izwini Communications. Like we are actually rolling out these big campaigns for these brands, and they're really relying on us to communicate a message to the public. So it's something that you have to take very seriously. And think about kind of outside of yourself. Yes, there's you, there's your audience, but you need to understand that you need to be able to look at this thing outside of yourself and still think, yo, that's dope. I understood what was being communicated, and I get it.
You figure out what's been communicated. You figure out how to move everyone's product. Has it not hit you that, yo, maybe it's time to do my own product?
It's definitely time to do my own product. It's definitely time. I think for me, I've just been learning, you know. And honestly speaking, sometimes when you get exposed to things, it can be great to teach you things, but it can also scare you a little bit, you know. So sometimes being overexposed to things and learning too much and knowing too much can sometimes just make you back away from the thing a little bit too much, you know. So I want to be honest in that regard. It's just a scary thing to do, but it's definitely something that I'm doing, for sure.
I think it's gotten to this thing, we were talking about it last night with my friend. I was like, yo, I feel like knowing too much feels like flying close to the sun. It's like you see, but then you start getting blind.
Yeah.
Because it's like, yo, there's just too many mechanisms. You're not just making a t-shirt anymore. You're like, yo, we need these type of t-shirts from this type of place with this type of costing. With
Exactly, like you just know too much and it fries you. It really does. And that's not to say that you shouldn't equip yourself with information, because you definitely you need a map and a guide through the whole situation. But at the same time, I think to be brave, to be fearless, to not know and learn along the way is actually a very beautiful thing. And with that also being said, I think things happen at different times for different people, you know. At church the other day, this lady made an analogy about some people are planting cabbage and they're going to harvest every 3 months, and other people are planting timber and it only comes every 10 years, you know. So different journeys for different people and different reasons, but I think at this point, I am so well equipped to do it that it's going to be like next level.
How do you find it in yourself to keep learning? Because sometimes I'm like, it's not next. Yes! But how do you sit back and like, you know what? Let me learn again.
To be honest, you have to humble yourself. You really honestly have to humble yourself, and it's a difficult thing to do. It's a lesson I have to keep teaching myself. Just knowing that there's a bigger picture. Respectfully, it's not about you. You know, tough pill to swallow, but a pill that is important. You really have to humble yourself. Like, you just have to humble yourself. There's no like bigger picture of like nice ABC 1, 2, 3 do re mi. I could break it down for you. It's really just to humble yourself and have a teachable spirit, regardless of where you find yourself. Like, regardless of what situation you're in, you have to have a teachable spirit.
How have you reinvested in yourself? Because the chat is always like, no, reinvest in yourself. Don't ball out. Don't get the things you want now. It's gonna pay off in the future. You've been doing this for 10 years.
Yeah.
What would you say are some of the methods that have kept you afloat?
I think one thing, just a really practical example, is just making business costs like make sense to the business. Do you know what I mean? Like, for me, fashion and styling is such a huge part of my business that we can look at, you know, buying a little ostrich feather as styling and not necessarily balling out. So I think constantly reinvesting into the thing that you're doing and growing the offering is very, very important. And now I'm just expanding the team, you know. I think putting money into people who can really help you expand is really important. You can do a lot of things by yourself, but like, it doesn't make sense for you to have like a 200K jacket, but your assistant is only getting 4,000 Rand. Like, it just doesn't make sense, you know. You have to pay people their worth so that they can perform at their optimum best in order to help you get to the next level. So yeah, I just really invested in my team. I really invest in collaboration, in content creation. That's like a huge budget in my business goes to that. But just constantly just reinvesting in Moozlie. Some things you don't see instantly, like, you know, but some things do make a big impact after a long time, you know. Sometimes when I have to get ready for Content Fest, I'm like, why am I spending so much money on these clothes? But when you see what it really means at the end, when you see the full picture, it's just like, it's art, actually, you know. And that's something that you have to be proud of, and you have to invest in it. So I think definitely actually invest in what you're doing. Like, get a sound engineer, like, get a real makeup artist. I know you know how to do your face, but like, there's just sometimes where the foundation is just not landing the way that it should. Get a driver. You don't need to drive to every gig. Like, get people who can like really, really help you and invest in you, as opposed to just blowing it on one thing because you're going to get another check tomorrow, or you're going to get another check next week, because it comes and goes.
How's the in-between though? Because I think everyone, when we online, we see like deal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're following each other, but sometimes until you do it, you're not cognizant that deal 5 and 1 were paid for at the same time. Now there's this in-between period where these other 2 companies are only going to pay in 6 months, 3 months. How have you handled those?
Oh my gosh, still suffering with that. I think it's definitely a thing everybody at every level still deals with. But now I'm really in like my Bible era. And I am very content with the fact that I do not get my money or work from people. My money comes from God. He provides for me. So that's not to say that, the cup is constantly overflowing, but it eliminates the stress of feeling like, oh, I'm being fried. This person owes me money. No. There's a lot of stress that actually will fry you mentally, you will get sick. You know, just trying to deal with finances as a creative. It's not easy. There are definitely times where I'm like, Musa, just politely follow up on that invoice just to see where it's at, you know. But just knowing that I don't get my money or work from people just gives me a lot of peace of mind that like, I'm going to be okay. There's a bigger force that's like providing for me that is not related to whether I'm working, whether I'm shooting, whether I'm hosting. Like I could be at home every day reading the Bible and I'll still eat. That's just where I'm at.
This industry is very relationship driven. You've been over 10 years.
Yeah.
How are you maintaining? Because the same person who gave you a check year 1 now fries you year 5. And you're not getting your money. And then year 8, they've reformed. They've also found God.
Yes!
Now they're better people. And now you still want to take that leap and have faith again.
Yeah.
How have you managed those?
It's a long game. It's a long game. And just as you change, people change as well. And I think beyond a work level, on a human level, it's just important to be good to people regardless of what they do. Because ultimately, as long as you're good, you are good. Like you don't ever have to worry. You don't ever have to fry. You don't ever have to watch your back or feel like, oh, I can't make that call anymore because I fried that person in that way. I really think it's just about being a good person. Sometimes it sucks. Like one of the weirdest verses for me is like, turn the other cheek, like how they fried me. Like, are these the people you saying I should be good to? Like it blows my mind, but the truth is you just gotta be good for yourself, for your energy, you know? And I think it's really more, it's a lot more about jobs and brands and gigs. Like this is really our community, it's our culture, and we speak to a lot of people who we want to communicate good messages to, messages of hope, of positivity, of inspiration. So you kind of want to keep your energy clear when you're moving through those things. And just also, another thing, I'm going to say this again, sometimes it's not about you. Like you need to be okay with that. I think sometimes as creators, we like to make fries about us. It's personal, like this brandy, yay, they fried me. Like it's not about you. Maybe Vele, the budget didn't work, or the new brand manager wants to put their other people. It's not that personal to the point where it's like, should be frying your mind. Never again. Like trust me, I've been there. I've dropped like mad disregards about people who's personal fan. But I always had to go back and apologize because I realized that it's not that deep. It's really not about you. And you should never be in situations and spaces where you are moved to change who you are and moved to change your character and move differently because of how other people are affecting you. Because the truth of the matter is, nobody can put something into you that you will like take out, do you know what I mean? Like a person can only make you do what's already on the inside of you. So if you are a spiteful, terrible, ugly person, that's already you. There's no person who can trigger you. There's no person who can fry you to bring that out. That's just you, and you need to work on your heart. Like don't allow people to have that much power over you, is what I'm saying. Difficult, but important.
It's a very tricky one.
Yeah.
It's very tricky. Like the balance, like you invest in things. You put your heart, sweat, hours, money, relationships in it. When do you know that, yeah, you know now, I've done enough here. It's only sharp. Like I love y'all, but it's like a sharp. Like how can one gracefully leave situations?
Let me tell you, I am notoriously bad at leaving. Like notoriously bad at leaving. I don't know if I just be in the Bible too much and just want to give everybody another chance, another chance, another chance. But in the past, I've been notoriously bad at leaving. But now I am in the point in my life where I know I don't even need to go. And I think that's a really important thing to do. Sometimes, if you don't go at all, you won't even be in a situation where you need to leave. And you sometimes know instantly. Like we know, we do like, I'm just going to wait it out and see what happens. I'll give them another chance. I'll see what they're going to do, you know. But I think we really need to listen to our inner voice, Holy Spirit, whatever it is that you want to call it. I think we always get those guides and we get those prompts. And even in situations where I've stayed longer than I needed to, there's lessons that I've learned that I've taken forward. But I'm now realizing that sometimes it's not about leaving. Sometimes you just don't need to go at all. And that's okay.
What's the one question over the many years of being interviewed that you've always wanted to be asked?
Jeez. I don't know. I've been asked a lot of questions. I don't think I have one, to be honest. Do you have one?
Me, that I've always wanted to be asked?
Yeah.
Why?
Why do you do what you do?
Yeah, why? I think the why is always the most important question, just in general, which leads me to my question for you. Why?
Because I love it, truthfully. I don't really know how to do anything else. I've been in the industry since I was 19 years old. So now at 32, I've just been doing this for so long that I don't know what else to do. I'm sure maybe if you move me to another position, I could learn how to use the chip fryer or whatever, but I've just been working the till at the Cultures McDonald's for so long that I don't know how to do anything else. And I really love it. I'm invested. I've planted my seeds here, you know. And I want to be able to sit under my shade, you know, like respectfully, and not even in a cocky kind of a way, but just knowing that you put in the work, you know. And I really do believe that God is faithful. So I love it. I just love showing up to see what's going to happen next. I always want to know what's next. There's so much more to the story, which is very exciting for me. But truthfully, like, I love this. Like, I love being on TV. I love shooting. I love music. I love artists. I love the culture. I love being on stage. It really makes me feel good. Like, I love it.
What's it like when you do the corporate work? Because most of your work has always been front-facing. Hey, it's Nomuzi, we're on TV, it's a billboard, it's radio. When you're doing corporate gigs and they just like, yo, just introduce our CEO, do a little talk here. What's the difference like?
The difference is that I'm definitely maybe the coolest and well-dressed person in the room, you know? But you find in the corporate space that they are rock stars in their own way. I mean, you know, as a person who works behind the scenes with brands and stuff, the brand manager, he's Moozlie. Like, he's popping there. Like, he's the guy there, you know? So it really just feels cool. And for me, like, I just speak well. So it's really exciting to be able to be the middleman between those people. You know, it's really exciting in that way for me. But it's interesting because I have a different perspective. So I kind of always feel like a zebra in the zoo. Like, you know, I'm the cool, funky person with stripes. It's really, really fun. It's different. I've had to learn to, like, number one, answer my phone, number two, reply to emails, just like deal with people on an everyday level that sometimes as Moozlie I don't need to. But it's cool. I learn something new every day.
How do you manage having foresight? Because even from jump, you have a record label. From jump, you figured out that, yo, this is the role as creative director, this is what you do. How have you managed maintaining foresight? Because there's a lot of moments where sometimes I look at it and I'm like, that was my window. I should have taken that window.
That's a very good question. I think it's really about trusting your intuition, trusting that things are going to work out even if they don't look like they will. I think a lot of the times the things that we do are for a future world. So in this world, it doesn't really make sense. So it's really about being able to stick to your guns when making those ideas come to life. And I think also finding people that you can share the idea with. It's really like prayer. Like where 2 or 3 are gathered, it can grow. Sometimes when you sit by yourself in an idea, it literally will start to be crazy. Like the voices in your head will start to win. But if you have people around you who can affirm your ideas, who can kind of give you that assurance that this is possible, like this is who we can call, this is what we can do, this is a way forward, I think it definitely adds a new fire and inspiration to the idea. And just, it's easy for me to say this now because I'm here, but something I always need to hear for myself is just don't be scared. Like, don't be scared. Don't allow what you know or what you don't know to stop you. You know, you're not going to see what's going to happen in the future anyway. So just don't be scared.
To round off the conversation, what's your word to the youth?
My word to the youth is always trust God more than you trust other people. You know, be good to people. You know, those are your people. You want to meet up with them in heaven and you want to make sure they have a good story to tell about you. So definitely be good to people. Show up for the people, service the game, service the culture. But trust me, make sure you trust God more than you trust people.
Great. Go on and beer.